Well, welcome everybody. Today, I want to dive in deep to talking about handwriting because so many of the students I know, handwriting is a barrier for them for education. And in fact, they get so frustrated, they stop engaging. And a lot of disengagement comes from around handwriting. But also over the years, I've seen people go, oh, well, we'll just teach them to type. But that's not always an answer either. For some of my kids, it is. See, handwriting is really complex. And the more we can do to help kids, the bigger difference we can make. If you're seeing an occupational therapist, I highly recommend from a young age, you really get them to help you with strategies around handwriting. But handwriting isn't just about pencil grip, even though I'm going to talk about using pencil grips in this podcast. It's actually about being able to track. A lot of my kids, their eyes get tired, actually having to focus and think. And for other kids, by about year 2 or 3, they can write without having to think about the formation of every letter. Over the years, I've had kids who write completely in capitals. I've had kids who write in tiny ant letters. It's all totally perfect. And make sure you listen to the podcast on being perfect and the fear of making mistakes, because that can impact on handwriting too. Kids who are so worried about having a go, and a lot of it is mindset. Or a lot of my kids who see another kid's done a page and they've only done half a page and they feel really disheartened. Over the years, I have found handwriting and writing can be such a barrier. But it also links to reading. And so make sure you listen to the reading podcast, because if a student has to read instructions and then do writing, there's so many executive functioning, so many skills we have to think, remember, then remember what you're writing. Like, so some of my ADHD kids will get all excited and have a great idea, and then they start to put it on paper and they can't remember, and then it's too hard. It's too hard. And I don't blame them. It is really hard. So this is where accommodations are so important with handwriting. But also, it is the more you do, the better you get. But practice doesn't make perfect. And that's where some of my kids get so frustrated, because they think that their handwriting's going to look just perfect. And they're sort of the kids that I tend to move to typing, the kids who want everything looking beautiful and get frustrated. They're often my kids who are better with typing and learning to type. But again, I want you doing like a touch typing program on your computer so that they learn to type quickly and they can get their thoughts down quickly. So I know I've started off with a lot of little bits and you're probably going, Sue, explain, tell me more. Absolutely. We are going to dive in deep to some strategies, but just remember, handwriting and writing is a life skill. Getting your thoughts down, whether it's typing or writing, is a life skill. If you've got a kid who's really good at maths, they're still going to have to record their thoughts, they're working out, or science, often the short answers. So many subjects my kids love ultimately are going to require them to get their thoughts on paper. So my question is, how do you help this student get their thoughts on paper? What can we do to make a difference? And the first one is to actually understand about dysgraphia. So some of you may know about dyspraxia, which is where a child knows what they want to say but can't get the words out. And these kids get pretty frustrated too. They know what they want to say. And again, they often stop talking because it's just so frustrated people don't understand them. Well, dysgraphia is where a kid knows what they want to write. They can tell you what they want to write, but can't get their words on paper. Now, for those kids, that's where typing can be fabulous. However, there's a group of kids like my ADHD kids that have so many thoughts, but the problem is their handwriting and typing can't keep up with their thoughts, and then they lose their train of thought and they get frustrated. So I guess I'm asking you to really explore, what is it? What is the barrier for writing for the child you know? What is it? Are they a kid who likes to write all perfectly in capitals? Is it about that having a go? What is the best way that you can accommodate them to get their words on paper? But ultimately, they probably are going to have to do handwriting. Now, when I went to school, handwriting was taught very formally, and we would do our practice. But you really do need to practice handwriting. It is a thing that the more you do, the better you get and the quicker you get. Now, Most schools now don't do traditional handwriting lessons, and I'm not recommending you necessarily do that. But what I would ask you think about is, how can I help this child's pincer grip? Now, a lot of my kids, they do not want to sit doing handwriting activities. Well, what about a spinning top? I have found spinning tops invaluable. See, most kids I know with autism spectrum and ADHD kids too, actually love spinning tops. I'd love you to get your hands right now. Well, not while you're driving, but if you can, get your hands. Now, pretend you're on an iPad. Pretend you're doing something on your iPad. My guess is you're just using one finger. Have a look. Think of yourself on an iPad. You just got one finger working. Now pretend you're typing. Oh, you've got a whole lot of fingers working. So can you see that's a different coordination? iPad. But on the iPad, you were having to scan the keyboard, scan the iPad to touch things. The typing, you were typing, not so much scanning, but the scanning required when you're typing is to look from the keyboard up to the screen. That's a scanning skill. And so many people don't realize scanning is required, moving your eyes, looking from the keyboard up to the typing where you're typing. Whereas on the iPad, everything appears under your fingers. And this is why a lot of my kids who are used to iPads get very frustrated with typing. Whereas before we had iPads, a lot of my kids got very good at typing and doing that looking up and down. Now, let's move to holding a pencil. Oh, 3 fingers. Oh, imagine we're having to write something off the board. Wow, we still need to look up, look down. We still need to be able to look what our fingers are doing, and we need to be able to move across the page and scan what we're doing. But we've also got to think about what we're writing and how we form each letter. Whereas on the iPad, we just hit the letter. We don't have to think D goes round, up and down. We don't have to think about the formation. When we're typing, we don't have to think about the formation, only about what we're writing. So can you see these are all very different skills? And this is why, I don't know about you, but the more I type, the worse my handwriting gets. So let's go back to the spinning top. Now, I want you to pretend you're holding a spinning top and spinning it. Imagine you let that spinning top go. Do you need to use all your 3 fingers? Do you need to twist those fingers? When you let the spinning top go, are you scanning? Well, instead of getting a kid to do 5 minutes of handwriting a day, how about you do some spinning tops? That would really help build their strength in their fingers and their scanning skills, but they're not having to think about the formation of letters and what they're writing. So you're still going to have to work on that in other ways. The other thing I would recommend is a squeeze ball. So I have the yellow smiley balls on my website, and I use them for fidget toys and lots of ways. But for kids to develop strength, fantastic. So actually squeezing the ball. Now, whether it's spinning tops or those squeeze balls, you're going to have to work out the student's or the child's preference, because some of my kids are left-handed, some are right-handed, some don't actually have a preference. In fact, I've got kids who can't cross over, so they'll write actually half a sentence halfway across the page and then swap hands. So they're kids who often like the keyboard because the keyboard doesn't require a preference either. Anyway, as you can hear, I could talk for hours about handwriting, and that's the teacher in me. I want my students to get their thoughts down on paper. I want them to be engaged in learning, but I need to think about what accommodations they need. So squeeze balls, spinning tops, Lego is amazing because Lego is also teaching planning and scanning, so encouraging kids to do Lego, but again, getting them to pull them apart and put them together, because a lot of my kids get very good at putting it together, but the pulling apart actually is hard. Any of you have ever done that will know actually Lego is really hard to pull apart. But have a think about that. Threading activities. I mean, a lot of my kids struggle with shoelaces, and I normally put on my Facebook page as a really good shortcut to do shoelaces, but you need this pincer grip, this fine motor grip that you use for writing, you use for lots and lots of things. So I think it's not just about handwriting, being able to undo a button or undo a zip, or even to be able to dress yourself, to scan and put your hand into your t-shirt. All of these are very important skills beyond handwriting, but today we're focusing on handwriting. So if you know kids who do need some help with handwriting, I highly recommend you have a look at the tips for this week. I also like doing things like breaking off a crayon or a pencil so it's not so long. So even buying shorter crayons and shorter pencils can really help. Or for many of my kids who get frustrated with having to sharpen pencils, you can get those pencils that you can wind, and they're a fatter one. Those, I think they're called Crayola ones. I've had kids over the years that like those, and they're thicker lead, so they're more successful at colouring in. The other thing I'd encourage you to do are dot-to-dots. Dot-to-dots are fantastic for teaching scanning. So for kids who love numbers, they'd much rather do a dot-to-dot than sit doing a dot-to-dot. And if they love Star Wars, find a Star Wars dot-to-dot. If they love Pokemon, find a Pokemon dot-to-dot. Or My Little Ponies, whatever they love, use that as much as you can. But the other thing I'd remind you, earlier I did a post about fine motor skills being a whole body approach. So look at their posture, look at how they're sitting to write. Have they got core? Because if you don't have core, you're going to be wobbling all over the place. And that fabulous strategy I've shared with you before, to put a piece of paper under their arm so they engage their core. The other thing that I found over the years is getting kids to stand up to write. Often when they're sitting, they slouch. So why not get them to stand up to write? And lots of schools now have those stand-up desks, which is great. But you can just build up a desk pretty quickly by just putting a box there and seeing if it helps. Try different things. It's all about trying. Also, remember, one of the reasons the kids will be tiring very quickly is actually their eyes, like having to scan. A lot of my kids get very tired, and I know a lot of parents listening would have gone for eye tests because they notice how tired their child gets, and that can be in reading or writing. Also, you'll notice their grip and their ability to keep their posture. They'll start leaning. That shows you how tired they're getting. And I'm a big fan of small achievable tasks. I prefer they did 5 minutes of handwriting, then did 10 minutes of wall push-ups or 5-star, not 10 minutes of wall push-ups, 10 wall push-ups, 5-star jumps. Get them moving in a gross motor way to then get back to the fine motor, because those gross motor activities are still helping with the handwriting, but just giving their eyes a rest and their brain a rest from having to think. For kids with ADHD, teaching them mind mapping, the earlier the better, or having topic sentences written down, and then they have to, so if they're telling me their thoughts, I'll put the topic sentences down and then they just fill in the rest of the paragraph. Make it visual, so they're not having to put all their effort into remembering what they want to write. They're actually able to just write. Like, I had a boy many years ago who loved dictation because all he had to do was write what I was saying. He didn't have to think about what he wanted to write. But now the curriculum's become far more open and you can write your own thoughts. Well, that's really hard for him. So he would just write the same thing every week if he was given free choice. So I had to actually help him come up with some topic sentences, and he got really good if we had some topic sentences filling in. On Saturday, I watched on TV. On Saturday night, I had for dinner. And if we're doing creative writing, which again can be challenging for many of my kids, I would use his love of space. So an alien landed on the moon, an alien landed on Mercury, and getting him to think about the different things that appealed to him. I hope you've got some good ideas. I highly recommend you do have a look at the blog this week, because although I've talked really fast and given you lots of ideas, just really quick tips with handwriting. Number one, really help the child by giving them the supports they need, whether it's a pencil grip, whether it's putting a little popsicle or an icy pole stick between each word so they can see the spacing, letting them have a break, maybe letting them record an idea and then they're dictating. So when it's coming back into their ears, they're just writing it down. Short, sharp, just short writing activities and a break. So if you've got a 30-minute activity of writing, maybe 10 minutes writing, get up, do a lap of the room, 10 minutes writing, because I find those breaks, remember, preventative breaks. If you've got kids who are super disengaged and frustrated, have a think what you can do to help re-engage them. Is it giving them a pen? instead of a pencil? Some of my kids are scared of the pencil breaking. Is it letting them use their favorite color? Whatever re-engages them, it is so worth it. So I would love you to take a moment to really have a think what you can do to help this child engage more in handwriting and help them both with their handwriting and their scanning skills. And I guess one of the things I'd like to say today, particularly I know a lot of you on my online courses at the moment, remember sometimes you've just got to take action. So I've given you lots of ideas. There isn't one answer. People start Googling and looking up dysgraphia and should I get this child diagnosed with dysgraphia? Have a little read of the blog and what I've described in dysgraphia, but then sort of go, okay, well, they might have dysgraphia, but let's get on and put some strategies in place to support them either way. Or are they a child who has trouble with scanning? Yep. Gut feel says yes. How about I try the spinning tops? Because so many people I know start going down that rabbit hole of research and not actually taking action. Remember, not every strategy works for everybody. And there's a difference between knowing and doing. And I would love you this week to be in action and do some stuff, or talk to the student, talk to the family, notice what they're doing, find out what their frustrations are. Some of my kids are pretty good at telling me what their frustrations are. Or just put yourself in their shoes, sit in their seat in the classroom, pick up their pencil. Is it horrible and covered in blue tack? And experience learning from them. And I promise you, this is only going to take 5 minutes. I'm not asking you to do an hours of something, just 5 minutes. Have a look at their handwriting, look at what supports are in place, look at what the challenges are. What could we do to make them more engaged in handwriting and more successful? Now, if you're after more tips for handwriting, or for example, if you have a left-hander, I highly recommend you look in my book, The Ultimate Guide to School and Home, on page 69 and 70. It's actually thought up to 30% of kids with autism spectrum are left-handers. In fact, I read a study this week that said 65% are left-handed. I highly recommend you have a look at those pages. And there's also some really good stuff in here on engaging, disengaged. I'm flicking through the book as I talk. But engaging disengaged learners, because if you do have a student who is disengaged because of things like handwriting, there's some really good ideas in this book. And for me, just give it a go. Be in action. Just spend 5 minutes thinking, what can I do to help this student with their handwriting? What would make a difference? What am I going to try this week? I hope that you can share with all of us the things you're going to try. Jump on my Facebook podcast community. I love to hear under the episodes what you've tried or any aha moments. Best of luck. And remember, practice isn't always perfect. What are the supports you can put in place to make a difference to the students you know? Well, I hope you've got some great tips and ideas and thinking about writing more holistically as that whole body. This week's PDF, I have the tips from this podcast as well as my favourite books, but setting up those little stations of activities where children can go and actually do those fine motor, gross motor activities that are really good fun, but also learning all those skills that they need, that body stability to actually learn to hold a pencil and do writing. And as I've mentioned, like spinning tops and smiley balls, they're all on my website to make it easy for you. So have a look. There's also the great Getting Your Words on Paper by another great OT. So I highly recommend have a look at the blog this week. Check your emails for my resources and also the tips to take away, and have fun with fine motor, because so many of my children get frustrated. And I think actually just remembering a baby doesn't start by picking up their food. They start by learning to flip over and then crawl. So those gross motor are so important for fine motor. Anyway, you can see I'm very passionate about this, but I just see so many of my students getting so frustrated because they can't get their words on paper. And I feel like the older they get, the more frustrated they get. So the more we can do when they're younger, or if we can look at things differently and make it easier for them. So Hope you've got some great tips and strategies. Make sure you download that PDF to go with this week's episode. And as always, if you didn't get my emails, just go check your spam and tell your email provider I'm safe, because I hate you missing out. And remember, I'm just trying to save you time. I'm giving you the quick tips to put in place in your classroom tomorrow. I want you to just go, done it. Oh, there's a good one. Let's try that. I want to save you hours of scrolling Pinterest and other places, just giving you the top tips around neurodiverse students.